I'm Nicholeen Peck, and I teach parenting all over the world through the lens of the principle self-government. And in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you 5 things you must say to your children daily. There are a lot of things that we say to our children each day. Some of them are more thought out than others. In this video, we're going to be talking about what types of things you should be focusing on saying so that you can prepare to have a greater, more lasting impact with your child each day. There are 5 categories that I would like to bring to our attention, and in these categories, specific ideas of things that you can say. We need to be thinking in terms of how we are talking to our children to have the greatest impact. It is so easy to let day after day go by, to go through the regular grind, dropping people off here, taking them to this lesson here, asking them, did you get your homework done? Did you do your chore? Those types of things that just go through a mental checklist and never really get to the things that script a heart. So let's talk about heart scripting. What is it that changes a heart of a person? Truth and attachment. When you feel attached to another person and you feel like you trust them, you honor their opinion, and you know that they love and honor you, then when they tell you a truth, it sits differently inside you. When you feel like they want to hear you and understand you, then what they say seems to mean something deeper. These 5 categories that we're going to be talking about will help you communicate on a deeper level with your children. Category number 1, descriptive statements. Describe more. Now I could say to always describe a certain thing, like describe exactly how they did their chore or something like that. But I'm going to keep this broad because we can describe so many things. When we describe things with our children, this teaches cause and effect, but it also lets them know we're paying attention, that we care, that we value their efforts. Describing includes statements like pre-teaching when something's coming, so there's a teaching moment there, but also describing can be praising when things go well. It shows them that we acknowledge that we saw that they did something and that it was valuable. Also, describing can happen when a correction is needed. We can describe, this is what I saw occur and this is why it's not a good idea. And this is what should happen instead. And when we describe, or we have a describe mentality, meaning we're looking for places where we can describe, that means we switch our mindset from reacting to teaching. When we start teaching our children, we become a safer person to learn from. Reactions don't usually come through as safe. They come through as emotional manipulation. So, description statements, those are important and they're easy to incorporate into regular life. You might just have to change the way that you phrase a few things. And I can definitely help with that in this book, Parenting a House United. The second category you want to make sure that you hit every day with your children as far as communication categories go is feeling statements. Feeling statements. So that means that you say stuff like, I love you. You are so special to me. Being with you is the happiest part of my day. These are the touching things, the things that you feel like, oh no, that's awkward. Those are exactly the things that the children need to hear to know their value. There are 4 different levels of communication. The first level is pleasantries. The second level is stating the facts. That's where the descriptions come in. The third level is feeling. Each level of communication is a deeper level. There is one communication level that is deeper than feeling. That's the need level, where you communicate your needs to another person. But let's talk about feelings and expressing how we feel toward another person. My granddaughter is 21 months old. When I look at her in the eyes and I say, I love you, Clara. Grandma loves you. She looks at me and she seems to take it in. She doesn't always tell me she loves me because she's still just a baby, but I can tell she feels it. Because when you say a feeling statement, it's not really the words, It's the feeling that you have behind those words that really comes through to the person. And our children need to know how deeply we feel attached to them. They need to know that daily. The third category of things that you should say to your children daily is assessments. Our children become strong when they develop the ability to self-assess. But when they hear assessments from other people, reasons why things matter to other people, it really hits home for them. And it teaches them cause and effect too. What types of things should you be assessing about your child? Well, maybe assess some of their motives, but definitely spend your time assessing positive motives and not trying to make up negative motives. Talking about positive motives is going to be more beneficial than spending your time discussing what you think their negative motives are. Then you're painting a dark picture on them. But if you see that they've done something like take over a dish without being asked or clean out the microwave when they saw that it needed to be done, then you could say, you know, that was really considerate. That really showed that you care about the whole group, not just yourself. I hope that spreads to everybody else. You're a great leader. Or that shows a lot of maturity to just see what needs to be done and to do it without being asked. When I teach parents to do pre-teaching, praising, and correcting, I teach them to add a rationale. Rationales speak to the heart. This is where the assessments come in. That's the rationale step of all of those day-to-day communications. How often do we just say, oh good, they took over their dish without being asked. I didn't have to bug them this time. That's negative. It's pessimistic, and it's an internal dialogue that does not assess anything positive about the child. Let them know you see the good. If there's one thing I've noticed in recent years, it's that the depression level, the feeling of worthlessness, it's catastrophic what's happening to the children. It's like an epidemic. They don't think they're good enough to please their parents. They're not good enough for anyone else. They live in a picture-perfect society filled with YouTube where everybody looks perfect. They know they're not. Well, none of us are. Let them know that you notice when things aren't perfect because we're doing that already, but make sure you also let them know that you notice they're trying, that you notice good character qualities in them so that they don't give up when times get hard. The fourth category of talking that should happen every day is questions. And I don't mean the check-off list, like, did you get your homework done? Did you do your chore? Did you feed the dog? Those things are just things to see how we're running as far as efficiency goes. But the truly great questions are questions that come back to our effectiveness, questions that come back to things that we value, things we learn, things we want to talk about, things that are important to us. The chore is not very important to your child, but the goal might be. So why not ask your child something like, so what is your personal goals that you're working on lately? Or, I've noticed you've been putting a lot of effort into this project. What is your plan with the project? I've noticed you've been spending a lot of time with so-and-so. Would you consider so-and-so one of your good friends? Why? Ask a lot of questions that lead to good conversation. Your children need to connect, they need to tell you stuff, and sometimes they're not sure if you want to know. Sometimes they may also think you want to know too much. Well, if that's the elephant in the room, then just say, listen, I know it seems like I want to know too much, but asking questions is a great way for us to bond, connect, and be involved in each other's lives. And when you have a relationship with someone, they need to know you. So I'm going to ask questions. So there it is. No matter what they say, too bad. You're asking questions. Even if they say, I don't know, whatever, maybe. Try not to ask things that are yes and no. Ask stuff that they have to respond to with at least one sentence. All right, we're just about ready to get to the fifth category, but I've got to tell you something. I just thought of a sixth. And so we're going to have some bonus material at the end of this. But the fifth category is spiritual statements. Every person is a spiritual being. Every person is a spiritual person. And that's part of our whole development. So we have academic development, social development, personal development. We have spiritual development too. So even if you're not a religious person, there's a part of every person that wants to know the truth They want to know how to live more in a truthful way because you just feel better. You feel more free if you do. So make sure that you take the time to bring the spiritual in, even if they seem like they don't like it. I will forever be grateful for my grandparents who every time they wrote me a birthday card or a letter or they saw me, they told me how much my Heavenly Father loved me. They told me how special I was to them and to Him. They told me truths that would strengthen me and lift me my whole life. Even though they've been gone for many years now, I will never forget that they told me spiritual truths that I can live my life by. Help your children have more meaning and purpose in their life by teaching them things like, God loves all people, or, God actually recognizes that we will make mistakes. It's okay to make mistakes so long as we fix them, and here's how to do it. Let them know that God sees the good in them. A lot of children are pulling away from faith, from God, from any spiritual source, not because they don't need it, they do, but because they're not sure they can trust it. And that's because parents have used the spiritual as an excuse sometimes for mistreatment. I'm not saying that's you. I'm just saying make sure that those spiritual statements are things that edify, uplift. They speak truth in a way that is undeniable, that speaks louder than you ever could because the spirit of truth is in them. All right, I've got some bonus material. So I love talking to my children about what has happened in the day. So I know that I said don't talk about the to-do list, but there are some things that I've asked my children regularly. Questions like, what are you grateful for today? Or questions like, what problems have you solved today? Or this one, which I asked for years and years. As I would pass by their bedrooms or pass by the couch as they're sitting there, I would say, what are you doing that's useful? Then they would have to think, what's useful? Is it useful for me to sit here and read a book? I think it is. I'm reading this book. Or is it useful for me to just sit on the bed and daydream? Well, why would it be useful? Maybe it's not. Is it useful for me to just eat candy all day? I don't know. But if they can analyze themselves and what they're doing and how it can be of some use, hopefully they'll make more deliberate decisions about how they're going to spend their time, what they're going to work toward. If you have enjoyed this video, I know that you will love my next video, which is all about success for the family and not falling into expectation traps. The video is called The Expectation Trap versus the Psycho for Success. Click on the link to that full-length class now. I'll see you there.